Matt Harris with Varado, and today we're going to talk about ERP systems, and more specifically, why do so many ERP implementations fail? So, one of the things we all love to talk about, failure. No, failure is something that we learn from in business, and that's why we talk about it. We can learn more about from failure, obviously, than from success, and by learning from others' failures, we can learn what not to do, which can save people a lot of time, money, and frustration. So, first of all, let's just talk about what is an ERP system. This is my technology stack graphic that I'm going to use in a lot of presentations just to give context around what it is we're talking about and how it fits into a business's technology stack. Starting at the bottom, an ERP system is enterprise resource planning is what it stands for. And it's basically like the foundational brains, finances, where's my stuff, how much does it cost, who am I buying it from, SKUs, prices, orders, accounting, taxation, all that stuff is kind of like the brains of the business. That's your foundational piece of the business. A CRM is visually above that. However this metaphor relates, some people put it in a pie chart, but a CRM is customer relationship management. I kind of think of that as the next layer of the stack. That's all your customers, tracking your customers, new customers, existing customers, communicating with customers, and that system can be tied in with other systems like email marketing, retention, strategies, etc. And we'll do another podcast about that. A PIM system lives above that, and not all companies will need it. But if you have a company that has a large amount of products, a high volume of products, like a distributor or a manufacturer, you're going to need a PIM system, even some retailers, etc. Product information management. And then marketing and sales software is your level above that. So it's ERP, CRM, PIM, marketing and sales software. So your ERP is essentially the lowest level, the foundation of your business. Now, an ERP system is not like an accounting system in that it's a comprehensive modular solution designed to manage a wide range of business processes across an entire organization. So they're good for larger, complex. I wouldn't say necessarily large. There's more ERPs going down market, so there's smaller businesses using them. Whereas, for the example, QuickBooks, which is the most well-known, obviously, accounting software, is just a straightforward accounting-focused software for small businesses. So an ERP system is for enterprises and companies that have a lot of complexity to them. Essentially, they need to manage multiple components within the business in a centralized system. So again, multifaceted operations, integrating various business processes, manufacturing, distribution companies, coordinating operations and compliance across multiple countries. This is where an ERP comes in. So most like medium-sized businesses, depending on their niche, are going to need them. It's just not a good fit for small business. So, retail chains, large service businesses, even large construction firms, they could use an ERP system. Whereas maybe a smaller startup, sole proprietor business, those kinds of businesses won't need them. So that's what an ERP is. So according to data, and you're going to see, if you just search on this on the internet, you're going to see a lot of instances of this. Depending on what research you read, 60% of ERP projects fail to meet their goals. And they have budget overruns, extended deadlines, or just completely fail, retreat, don't do it. Gartner has a report out that says 75%. So most of the research is saying over 50%. So like over half of these projects fail. And that's a really good thing to know before getting into doing it, because you need to understand why they fail so that your project doesn't fail, because these can be six-figure projects, these can be seven-figure projects. A large ERP implementation can take 2 years and it can cost over $1 million. It can cost a couple $1,000,000. A small to medium size one can take 6 months and it can cost, $100,000, $200,000. It depends on the size of your business and what you're trying to do. So you don't want to fail. You don't want to spend 6 months to 2 years doing something only to not get what you want, not meet your expectations, or worse, retreat. Obviously, an ERP upgrade is not to be taken lightly. It is an involved and complex process. That's why they fail. However, the end result will improve efficiency, productivity, analysis, scalability, flexibility, and adaptability. Reduce costs and gain easy access to new sales channels. So in a nutshell, a modern ERP system can be the difference between a business succeeding and failing. That's the biggest takeaway. There's a lot of older businesses on what I would call legacy systems that are not modern ERP systems. They're not cloud-based. And those companies deciding not to go through this process because they don't want to invest in it. They don't want to have the disruption. They don't want to have to go through the training. They don't want the expense. Those companies are going to be at risk to the competition that does do this. The competition that does function on a modern ERP and leverages that modern ERP to the most of their ability is going to be simply just more efficient and is going to be able to scale faster than a company that has not. So it literally can be the difference between success and failure. So it is very important that businesses look at this, particularly older businesses. So why does it fail? Number one, not enough planning and requirements gathering. So you basically don't know what you're getting into before you start, and you haven't gathered all the information to figure out what you need and why. And maybe minimizing the amount of work you're going to do on the phase one. So we're big fans of phased approaches. So phase one is that MVP, the minimal viable product, financials first. However you want to talk about it, try to figure out if you can get agreement to do a small project that gives you the basic foundation of the ERP first, and then you stair step and scale from there. That's typically what a good implementation looks like. The irony is that some businesses just don't want to think about it that way. They think of this as like you're paying for it one time and then you walk away. That's just not the way the modern world works. With cloud computing, advanced technologies, your technology stack and the evolution of your business as it applies technology to it in training and change management, that's going to be continual. So the best thing with an ERP implementation is to get that first thing done in the smallest capacity possible. And each business is different. There's some things that are just going to be absolute requirements that you have to have in there. That allows the company to get the new ERP in place and then train the staff on the new ERP, and then you can add in shipping, HR, other components to the ERP if you want. Anyway, so paid discovery is I put on this list in front of me if you're watching the video, and it's paid, question mark, explanation. I think if you're going to do this, you're crazy not to do a paid discovery. You need to find a company that knows what they're doing and can work with you to figure out what you need and what you don't need and who is going to be involved in the project. Because again, this project can take a year or more. And you need to have stakeholders on your side that are involved in it. Now, this is an investment, obviously, but it's important. So poor project management, that's the number 2 on the list. And that's basically this kind of saying the same thing. The discovery becomes the project plan, and then the adhering to the plan is the project management. So without a good plan, it's hard to have good project management. Somebody needs to be in charge of that project, and it's usually going to be on the service provider side, but they need to have a stakeholder internally to work with them. Otherwise, it's not going to go well. Underestimating the complexity is number 3, and again, that's saying the same thing. If you don't do the discovery And if you don't go through that process of planning, you're not going to know how complex it's going to be. And if you underestimate the complexity, it's going to go poorly. And then you wanted everything your way. So again, businesses can be stubborn. We've always done it this way, but the ERP system that we bought has a different way of doing it. We don't want to change our processes to use the ERP's way of doing it. We want to do it our way. Sometimes if you're inflexible to make changes in your workflows, that can get you to over customize the system. And then that system becomes expensive to build and also expensive to maintain. So sometimes a little bit of flexibility on the business's side to adapt to the way the ERP wants to do something can be very helpful. And not only that, the people that have built the ERP have seen a lot of businesses and they've established best practices. So usually their way of doing it is actually a good way of doing it. It's just not what you're used to. But if you can establish that new way, that new process, that new workflow, the business might be better, more efficient for it. And you're going to more easily upgrade to new versions of that ERP system because you haven't customized it. Running out of budget, I guess. And number 5, of course, like it all relates back, right? You didn't plan, you didn't budget enough, it's too complex, and so you didn't put enough money towards it. Again, paid discovery. Bad training and end user adoption. Again, a big part of these ERP implementations and anytime you're adding new technology to your company, there's a lot of companies that think, well, let's just buy this software and it's going to solve our problems. And it doesn't work that way. The software is going to do what the software can do, but if you don't have a plan or a process or an expectation of training your people to use that software, you're not going to get any value out of it. And, this gets back to something that I want to mention. And I probably am going to make another podcast about this. The companies that sell the software do not tell you how complex it is to implement the software. They never do. And this is another reason why the ERP implementations fail, to be honest, because there's a salesperson who's getting commissions on a sale of a license of a software who's not involved in the implementation. Their only motive is to sell the software. So they're going to tell you to your face, this is going to be simple, it's straightforward, it works out of the box. That's wrong. It's almost always wrong. If you're an existing business that's been in business for 20 years or more, or even 10 or more, you already are doing things that are probably not going to work with that ERP out of the box. So you need to customize those. That takes time and resources and usually a partner to work with. So you don't find that out until you've already signed the license on the software. And that happens all the time. And that's bad. So the training and user adoption is part of what needs to be in the expectations. That needs to be in that discovery. We're going to go through a training process too. You guys need to use the software and tell us how it's functioning for you. And that's also part of testing. So testing and training are kind of like hand in hand. And then wrong stakeholders involved in the project team, lack of management support. Again, the company, sometimes the management of the company, they don't understand that this requires resources on their end to do it. So they'll just find a partner. How much is it going to cost to buy this software? How much is it going to cost to implement the software? Okay, you guys do this for us, right? And we're going to keep doing the work that we're doing now. And you tell us when it's done. It's not going to work that way. It can't. If you have an accounting involved or a controller or a shipping department or management, they're going to have to be involved in this process. And before you go live, they need to understand what they're going to end up with. They need to understand how to use it. The training has to be part of the project. It has to be coming on the end of the project. Number 8, data migration issues. Again, lack of planning, lack of discovery. You'll find those data issues if you do a full comprehensive discovery. A lot of companies' data is a complete mess. It's in different systems. It hasn't been centralized. Don't feel bad if your company's data is like this, because I'm telling you firsthand experience. A lot of companies are like this. But part of the advantage of an ERP upgrade is that you get the opportunity to normalize and centralize your data. So as much as the data migration issues might be a problem, getting over the hump of that migration will give you cleaner data, more organized data, and more scalable business because of that. And again, it's house cleaning. It gives you an opportunity to clean house and get your data in order. And then unrealistic expectations, again, all goes back to that discovery. Unrealistic expectations has everything to do with what we said before, training, scoping, all of that leads to unrealistic expectations. Now, again, this is the importance of hiring a partner. A good partner will get you realistic. They will give you the tough love conversation. This is not going to be easy. It's worth it, but it's hard. The software vendor is not going to give you realistic expectations. They're going to sell you software. That's their job. The implementation of the software is the partner's job. If you don't find a good partner and that partner is not involved in the vetting of that software and the discovery process of implementing that software, your expectations will be off 9 times out of 10. You have to get a partner that's gone through the process of an implementation to explain to you how long it's going to take, what's involved, and I highly recommend doing a paid discovery because the paid discovery becomes the plan. If you look at a full project, usually 5 to 10% is discovery planning up front. So if you pay for that planning, you're going to learn from that. And even if you don't hire that partner, you own that discovery, that document, and that knowledge, and you can apply it to another partner. So it's not wasted money, it's research, and it's important. Okay, so what is a discovery process? I keep talking about discovery. So what is it? This is how you keep from failing. This is what you do well to make sure that your project goes well. You do an initial assessment and business analysis. So, what are we doing? What are we using? What's our current technology stack? And what do we want to replace and what do we want to improve upon? A gap analysis is kind of a similar way of saying the same thing. A gap analysis is we are here today. This is our current state. This is the future state of where we want to be. That gap is what's in between those two things. How do we get from here, current state, to here, future state? Now, I would recommend, depending on the business, it's not gap analysis, future state. It should be gap analysis, MVP, phase 2, phase 3. That's the best way to do this, depending on the business. So it's not like we're going to start here, current state, future state, and then we're done. Again, with cloud computing, cloud services, modern tech businesses that have been integrated into using modern technologies, as fast as these technologies grow, businesses need to understand that they need an annual investment in technology and an annual investment in change management and an annual investment in partnering with a technology company, depending on their size. But those are going to be the smart businesses. What you don't want to do is find out that you're 5 years behind. One day you wake up and you're 5 years behind. Then you're playing catch up. And that's really expensive. And it's really disruptive. You want to stay current every year, current every year, current every year. That's what the businesses are going to be doing that are succeeding in the next 10 to 20 years. So again, the MVP is just a way of getting over the hump, removing as much disruption as you can, and then committing to that continual improvement process. That's what I would recommend doing. Stakeholder interviews and workshops, that's number 3. Again, who's going to be involved in that? Let's get them into a workshop. Let's talk through what does your day-to-day look like? What are you doing now? What software are you using? How are you bringing orders in? How are you handling purchase orders? Whatever you're doing on the operational side of the business, in the shipping and the fulfillment and the accounting, what does that look like now? Let's get into a workshop and make sure that partner understands how you're functioning now and that you understand how it might change so that on the client side, so that you're prepared for that. And then total cost of ownership and ROI analysis. That will come during the discovery. So you're looking at how much workflow are we going to reduce? What are the efficiency gains? What's this investment worth to us? A lot of companies are still working on outdated on-prem systems. They've normalized manual processes that they don't have to do. That's baked into their overhead. They don't even probably sometimes realize that they can reduce a lot of manual effort by just modernizing their technology. So that gets kind of baked into that business assessment, which will give you the total cost of ownership and ROI analysis. And then implementation planning, again, that's part of the discovery. How are we going to implement it? What's the phases of the implementation? What's involved in that? You're going to probably set up a dev instance of the ERP system. You're going to start migrating over data. You're going to be testing that. And then you're going to get into user testing once you've got that migrated over. And then you're going to have to start planning for a go live date. So there's a bunch to this. And then go live is not the end of it. Go live is the beginning of the post go live. And you're going to be training on the systems before go live, and you're going to be training after go live. Training is going to go through the go live process, and that needs to be in the plan. And training and change management, basically, I was just saying the same thing. But anyway, following these steps, doing a paid discovery, and going through these phases of that discovery should help you to have a successful ERP upgrade, and ensuring a smooth transition and successful implementation. So addressing these areas through careful planning, strong leadership, adequate training, and realistic goal setting can significantly increase the chances of a successful ERP upgrade. Now, the discovery process gets really granular, and there's more to that, but totally not worth getting into it today during this podcast. But this will give you a little bit of an idea, I think, of the most important thing I would say, the biggest takeaway is figure out if your expectations are on or off. A lot of time management's expectations are way off. And it's kind of like that, hoping for the best case scenario instead of being realistic about what it might take. And so you engage in something with kind of rosy view of this is all going to be rainbows and ponies and easy, and it's not. It's hard work. But business is hard work. Anybody who's running a business understands that this stuff is hard work. And doing it has value. And I would say doing it in some cases is critical. Every business is going to have competition. Every business is going to be a threat to other businesses that might be more efficient. And because they're more efficient, they can offer a better value to their customers. And so they can beat you on price point. They can scale in different ways that you can't. So I would say business as usual is never a good way to go. Smart businesses are going to always be looking for ways to scale and improve. And if you're on an old, outdated ERP, I would say it's a good place to start. The other parts of the stack you can add on later. But if that foundation, that ERP foundation, is really out of date, it's hard to add the other pieces to the stack because you're dealing with an old jalopy underneath. You want a modern vehicle, you want a modern ERP, and then you can add CRM, PIM, sales and marketing software, et cetera. So that's it. Thanks for listening. Again, today's podcast was about ERP and ERP implementations and why they fail, and some good notes, I think, hopefully on how to succeed in an ERP implementation. My name is Matt Harris. The podcast is Varado. You can check us out on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.